Hey friends, Rob Phoenix, Powwow guy here. Hope everyone's doing well. Um, just wanted to, I'm only going to say a few words about this. Like our presidential election really, as they say, it went pear-shaped. Um, but I think there's a good takeaway from this. It's that, our country overall seems like it really kind of wants to go backwards. And no matter how much progress we make, there's always going to be that resistance to progress. And, for every step forward, we take two steps back. I think it's going to be this way for a while. I think we're going to hit, well, I think we've already hit, and it's just the beginning of kind of a dark time in our country. And I think, I just think it's going to be this way probably for who knows how long. I mean, with the Supreme Court being impacted and, the House and the Senate and the Oval Office all going, uh, anyway, it's not going to be great. But I've been talking to other folk practitioners, and I think the general consensus, at least between myself and the people that I speak to, is that we've been, at least as powwowers, browkers, folk healers, and such. We've been approaching the world as in need of healing, and I kind of think that's always going to be true in a sense. But right now, this moment in history calls for us folk practitioners to maybe take a harder hand in things. Um, Obviously, that idea of think positive, have faith, and share love and try to bring people together through what we have in common. That it's not really the reality of the country we live in. And I see the whole world kind of taking this negative turn. I think we don't want to lose sight of those things. We don't want to lose sight of the fact that we can still have joy and love and bring healing to the world. But I think at this point in time, as I'm only speaking to folk magic practitioners, and I'm only speaking from my own opinion and some thoughts that came up during conversations I've had with a few others. Might be time for us to take the gloves off, is what I'm trying to say. Say it with it. Just say it. Just put it out there. I think it's time for us to take the gloves off. I think in this new world that we all woke up to on November 6th, the idea of healing and love and peace is going to get way too much resistance. And if there's one sort of lesson we all have in common that spans every tradition of magic, is that magic follows the path of least resistance. So in this climate, us, you know, doing some sort of working for peace in the country, it's not going to do anything. You're wasting your energy. Um, you're wasting your spiritual energies and your magical supplies. When really, I think it's time for us to get a little bit more tough. It's time for us to toughen up, figure out who the instigators of all of this are, and start working against that. Let's to that end, like as a powwower, powwow is about healing, and it's you want to find your spiritual peace with God and such with. That's great, but during times when the world allows you to do that. And now there's, the only way we can find inner peace and be spiritual beings and such is to literally shut ourselves off from the world around us. And we can't do that. That's not the right choice. Believe me, that's kind of where I want to go and just like cover my ears and la, 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 I don't know what's going on. But that's not the right answer. So I think it's time for us to, well, actually, I'm not going to say that again. I'm going to say I've been re-evaluating my practices as a powwower. And yeah, it is about healing and, bringing healing to people. And there's some anti-hex stuff that we do and protection stuff, but that's not enough. So I started going back to, as mostly everybody knows, several decades ago, I was trained in traditional witchcraft. And prior to that, like when I was a teenager, being a gay kid in the 80s and having an interest in magic and witchcraft and spells and such, I was pretty isolated, as you can imagine. I didn't have access to any kind of books or anything, and they just weren't around in the 80s. But what me and the few like friends that I had at the time were those little chapbooks that you could buy like at the drugstore or whatever. So here's kind of like, remember these things? They would have like spells using candles shaped like crosses or devils. There's another one. This one's all about candle burning and doing different types of witchery and such. Magic. Now, a lot of this is very kind of witchy, but it's a lot of what we're still doing nowadays, like using planetary hours, calling on God, using the crucifix, that sort of thing. Here's this one's all about calculating planetary hours. Do you remember these old books? They'd be like Anna Riva or Tarot Star, those kinds of books. So you have a bunch of those. I love these because they really, as a teenager, me and these two girls that I used to hang around with all the time, we wanted to draw circles on the ground and do rituals and magic and such. And we found all of that in these books. There's another one I have. This one has all the different seals of Solomon in it. As you can see, I have it tabbed because I'm working with some of these now. But it also has, this one's a good one. It's called Secrets of Magical Seals. This book was written in the 1970s. And this is what people had in the 70s and 80s. These are the books that you had. And it had all the seals in it, seals of the spirits. There are good spirits and there are evil spirits. I say it like that, but there's what they call black magic spirits and white magic spirits. How to use these different seals, who you're calling and what they're for. If that's your fancy. There's also the seals from the books of Moses, which a lot of us powwowers, especially as hexameisters, are already familiar with. And there's these old school books, like these old books of shadows. If you're lucky enough to have copies of these, the ethics of hexerai. I'm not saying that to go dark. I'm not saying to become Dark Phoenix and be evil, but I think it's time for us to take the gloves off and just start doing the stuff that we need to do. Certainly, I'm not going to try and stop anybody from doing anything in this day and age, because I think it's time for us to do that. I think if what we have is our magic, then I think it's time for us to really step it up and do that. I think healing now is, the way we can heal is by taking a more proactive approach to things. So, whereas during healing, we would seek out the root of the disease or the condition and get rid of it. And I think that's what America is going to need us to do going forward. So certainly be there for people who need healing, because I think we're going to find a lot of people, with threats to take away health insurance and such. Who knows what's going to happen, especially like the transgender community, women, they may find themselves looking for more traditional folk methods of healing. So we should do the best we can with that. But also let's play to our strengths, and let's bring a different kind of healing going forward. And there we are. So hopefully you get what I'm saying. There's no reason for us to become bad people, but I think it's time for us to use our gifts for the common good, whatever those gifts might be. And, there's a whole section of our society that wants to just run rampant in the streets with artillery weapons and, machine guns. I don't even know what they're called. I am not one of those people. But I do have information and skills and talents that I do plan on using to do my part to ultimately root out the cause of the cancer in this country. And I hope others, take the stance to do so as well. So yeah, let's heal in a more aggressive way. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. It's dark times call for dark measures, I guess. And that's just where I'm at. I mean, I have my faith in God, and unfortunately that sometimes fails me too. So here we are. Let's try to keep each other's spirits uplifted, but let's support each other in our magic, and let's do whatever we have to do. All right. So that's my call to action to anybody who cares. But that's what I'm going to do. So yeah. So good luck to us all.